Now we're going to look at how you use vector tools to create your own assets in Photoshop for your digital graphic. Now, rather than make a brand new tutorial, I did one like this about a year and a half ago about how to make penguins using simple shapes and different effects. So I have just added this in as this video because that has all the information you need. So here is one I made earlier. It is using an old version of Photoshop, but that doesn't matter because the tools will still be the same on the new version of Photoshop. So have fun and enjoy making a penguin.
And welcome to the tutorial about creating a penguin in Photoshop. This is an introduction to how to use Photoshop. You'll learn all about the tools, all understand about vector graphics and all the panels and how everything works in Photoshop, which will really help you with your coursework later on. So you should be using this worksheet called Photoshop Penguin. It looks like this. If you don't have it, make sure you've got it open as you're working to use alongside the video, as that will really help you. So step one is to load Photoshop. The easiest way to do this is to go down to the search bar at the bottom of your screen, start typing photo, and you'll see Adobe Photoshop come up. Click on that and it will open. Step two is creating a canvas. So a canvas, just like any artist, is where you do your work, where you draw something. So we're going to go to File, New. We're going to give our canvas a name. So we're going to call it Penguin because that's what we're making. And then we need to give it dimensions. So the width is going to be 500 pixels, the height is going to be 500 pixels. So pixels are the dimensions in which the document is measured. So pixels are tiny little squares that make up an image. The resolution, we're going to keep it 72 pixels per inch. Leave the colour mode as it is, and the background needs to be transparent. So I'm now going to press OK, and that will give me my canvas. So things to be aware of on the screen in front of you, obviously the main canvas. On the left hand side you've got all your toolbars. At the top here is your properties. That basically changes whichever tool you're using. If you see, if I click on a different tool, the properties will change. Over here we've got lots of different panels. Now the ones that you need open are your layers panel and your history panel. If you can't see them, go to window at the top here and then choose layers, make sure it's ticked, and make sure history is ticked. History is really useful because it allows you to undo or redo actions really quickly, but just bear in mind it doesn't undo all the actions you've ever done. It only holds a certain amount. If your layers panel disappears when you open up a new panel, you can simply open it again by pressing this button here. You can also undock it by moving it like that, therefore you don't get that issue again, so that when you open up history the layers panel will still be there. Step 3 is selecting the ellipse tool. So an ellipse is basically an oval. So you can't see it here. Basically it's in this section of tools here, and this section of tools are the vector tools, which means they are shapes that are made using mathematical equations, which means they can be scaled without any loss in quality. Now if you can't see an ellipse tool, the oval, that's because it's hidden in one of these menus. Now every icon on the toolbar here that's got one of these tiny little arrows in the bottom right means there's extra tools. So all you do is you click your left mouse button and hold, and you will see other tools appear. So we're going to choose the ellipse tool. At the moment I can't actually see it because my mouse turns into a crosshair, and this is where I then draw it out. So step 4 is to draw your ellipse tool, probably about a third of the way down the page. But before you do that, make sure it is black. So in the properties up here, click on the colour if it's not already black, and change it to black by simply clicking in the black corner down there. And then you can draw out your ellipse shape. Remember, this is the body of the penguin. Notice over here in the layers panel it's given you a representation of what you've got on the screen, and it's called it shape 1. Whilst we're here, let's have a better look at the layers panel. So at the moment, as we said, it says shape 1. It's a good idea to name it so that you know what it is when you're working on other layers later on, because every different part of your graphic needs to go in a separate layer, and it gets very confusing, especially if you've got other properties within the layer. You'll see later on, you'll need to know exactly which layer is which. So right click where it says shape 1, just right click and choose layer properties, and you're going to call it something sensible like penguin body. Press OK, and you can see it's changed, and that means you know that is the main penguin body. Other things on here that will be useful for future work that you do, you've got this little eye. So if you're working on specific areas of a digital graphic and you don't want to see certain layers, you can take the eye off, and that means it disappears. It doesn't mean that it's been deleted, it just means you can't see it. It's the visibility. So if you click on the eye again, it reappears. That might be useful when you're doing very detailed work in your set assignment later on. You'll also notice in the history panel you can see all the things that we have done. If I wanted to undo something, such as what I've just done in the layers, if I click backwards, you see it's reverted to shape 1, but if I click on it again, it's called it penguin body. So you undo and redo by literally clicking on each separate thing, and you could do multiple things at a time like that. Quite useful. As I said before, it doesn't undo everything you've ever done, so don't rely on that. Make sure you're saving regularly and creating versions of your work, and that's something we will look at later in this video. For step 6, we are going to create the inside of the penguin body, the white area. So I'm just going to go to my layers, and remember I need a new layer because it's a new thing that I'm drawing. So I am going to click on this button here in my layers panel. If you're not sure which one it is, just hover over it and it will tell you create a new layer. I'm going to click on that, and remember I'm going to right click, choose layer properties and give it a name. I'm going to call it white body because it's the inside of the penguin white body. And then I'm actually going to draw it. So again, I'm going to choose my ellipse tool, make sure the colour is white, press OK, and then I'm going to draw it out. There we go. However, I'm not very happy with that because it's not the right size really, and it's all to one side. So we're going to learn how to use two tools. The first one is the move tool. That is here. So I'm going to click on that arrow, and then it allows me to pick up whichever layer I am working on. So if I was clicked on that penguin body instead, I wouldn't be able to pick up the white ellipse. I can only pick up the black one. So I've got to make sure I'm on the correct layer. So if you find you're moving things you shouldn't be, check which layer you're on. So going back to this, here's my white ellipse. I've moved it. It's more in the centre, but penguins don't look like that. It's usually not that large. So I want to use my scale tool now. Now the scale tool is really important. You'll use it quite a lot. So you go to Edit, find Transform, and then off the Transform menu you've got Scale. So Edit, Transform, Scale. And that gives you handles around whatever it is you have created, in this instance the body. So I can then click, you'll see a double arrow appears when I hover over those handles. I can make that smaller. I could of course make it smaller there if I wanted to, depending on what shape I wanted. When I'm happy, I can either press enter on my keyboard or use this tick in the properties toolbar to OK to transform my changes. If I don't want to do it, if I change my mind, I can use the cancel transform button, which is that circle with a line through it. So I'm going to do that. I'm happy with that, and I'm now going to move it again to be about there. There we go, and that's the body done. So step 7, you're going to make the head. So again, you're going to create a new layer down in the layers panel down here. Press that button, and then right click and call the layer properties up so that you can actually change the name of that. So this time it's going to be the head. Press OK, and now you're going to draw out a circle. Now you have to use the ellipse tool and hold down the shift key on your keyboard, and that will give you a perfect circle. So if you don't know what the shift key is, it's the one with the up arrow on your keyboard. Not on the number pad, but on the main keyboard. So hold that down. Make sure you've got the ellipse tool selected first. Hold down shift. Use your left mouse button and draw out a circle for the penguin's head. Now you can see here it's the wrong colour, so of course I go up to my properties and I'm going to change that to be black to match the rest of the penguin. And then I'm going to move it over here on top of the penguin's body. So step 8. This step is all about making sure the layers are in the correct order. At the moment the head is on top of the body, but we want to put the head behind the body. So if you look at the layers, the one that's at the top of the layer here is on top, is the one that's in front of everything else, and one at the bottom is behind everything else, and everything else obviously layers up in between. So I want to move the head behind everything else, so literally click on the layer here with my left mouse button and simply just drag it down, and you can see there's a black line that appears to show you where it's going to go, and I'm going to put it last so that it goes behind the body. Now you can't see this until you click back on the canvas or click off that layer, and you can see that it actually goes behind the body. It's a good idea at this point to save your work. So you can see up here you called the canvas penguin earlier, but we know we've done work since you set that up because there's a little star here that shows you you've done work since it was last saved. So we're going to go to File and Save As, and I'm going to make sure it's in a suitable folder. So if I have a look inside my GCSE iMedia folder, I'm going to put mine in my other work because this is only practice work. Ignore the one I did earlier. We want to call this Penguin V1. Now we've called it V1 so that it's version 1, because later on you'll save it with a different version number, and this is really important when you're doing digital graphics, that you've got the project saved at different stages of the project in case you need to go back and make changes to other versions of it. It's also really important you save the format as a Photoshop, that's .psd. That means that it retains the layers and you can work on the layers. Press save. Don't worry about this, just press OK. And you can see up here it's changed it to penguin underscore V1. If you don't know how to get an underscore, that's that line that comes along the bottom there that I did. Just hold down shift and press the dash button at the top of your keyboard. Step 9, we're going to create the foot for the penguin. We're only going to do one, and you'll see why in a minute. So we're going to create a new layer. Of course we don't want it to appear just above the head, we want it above the body, so we're going to move it right to the top there and change the name of it, left foot. It's okay. Again, choose the ellipse tool, make sure it's yellow because penguin have got yellow feet. That's okay, and then draw out the foot. For step 10 you're going to learn a new skill, which is duplicating layers. So we want a right foot to be identical to the left foot. So rather than try and get it exactly the same size, you can simply go to the left foot layer, right click on it, choose duplicate layer. So that means producing the layer that is exactly the same, and I'm just going to rename it right foot. Press OK, and you can see it's made the new layer there. And you might think, well, hang on a minute, I can't actually see it on the document. It's giving me the new layer, but it's not there. That's not quite true. It is there, it's just placed it exactly on top of the left foot because, of course, you made that duplicate. So all you have to do is use the move tool, go to your left foot, and if you move that, you'll see magically underneath, there's your original left foot, and then you simply move your right foot over to the right hand side. Step 11, we're going to create a beak for the penguin. So again, make a new layer, give it the name, beak, and we're going to use the polygon tool. Now the polygon, if you click where the ellipse is, there is this one here. But at the moment, yours will probably won't say 3 sides, will say 5. So you need to click where it says sides in the properties toolbar and change that to say 3. And that will enable you to draw a triangle. So I'm going to draw a triangle out. There we go. I've already made sure the colour is yellow. But at the moment, it's not in the right place. So again, use your move tool to put it in the right place. But I don't really want a lopsided beak. So I'm going back to my edit menu and transform path. This time I'm going to choose the rotate tool. And I want to rotate it so that the flat side of the beak is at the top end of the beak. I can also move it while I'm doing this if I want to. There we go. And when I'm happy, just press the tick. There we go, that looks great. It's slightly too big, however, so in the same way as I've done earlier, edit, transform path, scale, and I'm going to scale it down slightly as well. And I'm going to press the tick button or press enter on my keyboard when I'm happy to transform it. Step 12 is drawing the outer eyes. So I'm going to do the same process as with the feet, where I draw one and duplicate the layer. But this is quite a small area to work on, so I'm going to use the zoom area down here where it says 100%. I'm going to zoom in, so it's at 200%. So I just type 200, press enter, and I can see it a bit better. Very useful. Again, I'm going to add my layer. I'm going to right click and name it as left eye. I'm going to draw it out using the ellipse tool. Make sure the colour is white. And I'm going to duplicate the left eye for the right eye. So duplicate layer. Call it right eye. Press OK. And remember, it places it straight on top of the other layer. So you use your move tool. Click and drag across, and there's the outer bit of the eye. I'm going to line it up there. Brilliant. I'm now going to zoom out again, so down in the bottom left I'm going to type 100, and there's my current penguin. For step 13 we're going to be drawing a wing, so we're going to make a new layer and we're going to do the left hand wing, so we're going to call it left wing. Press OK. And we need to use the ellipse tool again, make sure that's highlighted. I'm going to make sure it's black as well. But this time we're going to do an elongated ellipse, so that's basically just making sure it's long, so it looks like a wing. So if I do it like that, for example, I can then use my move tool to put it roughly where it should start, down the side there. Next I'm going to use the edit menu again for step 14 to scale and rotate it. So remember, edit, transform path, rotate first of all, I think, 'cause it'll be easier to see. We want it like that. I'm going to use my move tool. Well, I can't use it until I've applied the transformation, so I can press apply. I should have pressed the enter or the tick button first, so I can then move it where I want it to go. I think it's slightly too long, so I'm going to go edit, transform path, scale, make it slightly smaller. That looks a bit more realistic, and press enter or press the tick when I'm done. There's my left wing. For this next step we are going to duplicate the wing, but we're going to do something slightly different this time. So on your left wing layer, right click and duplicate layer again as we've done before. Call it right wing. Press OK. Remember, it gets put over the top of it, so I'm just going to use the move tool to move it out. But there's a problem here, because it's got to face the other way, we need to flip it. So we're going to go to the edit menu, transform path, and you want flip horizontal. And that, as you see, will then make it look the opposite to where it was. So I'm just going to move that into place using my move tool. And there are my wings complete. Step 16, you're now going to create the pupils in the eyes, otherwise the penguin looks really scary. So you're going to use the same methods you've done before. You're going to zoom in, so just a reminder it's down here so we can see the eyes a bit better. There we go. We're going to make a new layer. You're going to call it left pupil. You're going to draw it out using your ellipse tool. We're going to keep it black. Remember, we need to draw a circle, so you need to hold down the shift tool to draw the circle. Draw it out. When you're happy with it, right click on the layer, duplicate, call it right pupil, press OK. Remember, it puts it over the top, so move it. There we go, there's my penguin's eyes done. And it's a good opportunity to save it again, because my penguin's looking much better. You've done a lot more since you last saved it. So file, save as, because we want to save it as a new version number, and this time we're going to call it version 2. Keep it as a PSD to retain the layers. Press save, press OK, and I'm going to zoom out again down the bottom here. Step 17 is adding a bevel effect to different areas of the penguin that you want to show the contours on, or to make it look more 3D to stand out. So I'm going to demonstrate to you on one part of the penguin, so you can then repeat this for the other parts of the penguin. So if I look at my layers, I'm going to find the main body, which is called penguin body, and I'll click on my penguin body layer. I must be clicked on that, otherwise it won't work. Then in the layers panel down here, there's the FX button. If I click on that, it gives me lots of options. I'm going to choose bevel and emboss. And up here, I want to make sure the inner bevel is showing. I'm just going to move this out of the way so I can see my penguin. And you can see here, the inner bevel is that kind of highlighted white area there. So at the moment, it's quite small. I might want to make that slightly larger, depending on how much beveling I want. I don't want it to look too white, however. I just want to stand out a little bit, so I'm going to leave it like that. If I wanted to, I could soften it. You can see that there. It's changing the gradient slightly, basically, to make it blend a bit better. If I wanted to, I can make that size different, like that. There we go. I'm quite happy with that, so I'm going to press OK. That's basically how you add beveling to parts of the penguin. So you're going to now repeat that for other layers. Now if you look at the layer we've just done, you can see it adds the effects in under here, under this layer, which is why it's so important that you identify which layer is which, because if you've got sub effects under each layer, it gets really confusing if you don't know what the layers are called. So I'm now going to do that on different parts of my penguin to end up with my finished penguin. Ta-da! There's my finished penguin. So you can see in the layers I've added in lots and lots of effects in the different layers, and I'm happy with that. So the final step as part of this document is step 18, saving it as the final version. So we're going to file, save as, and we're going to change the name. It says penguin _ final, and pressing save, making sure it's saved as a PSD file format still. I don't know about you, but I think the penguin looks a bit lonely. So as a stretch and challenge activity, I'd like you to create, if you have some time, some extra time, to create some extra animals, at least one extra animal. So you'll need to create a brand new canvas and start from scratch making an animal of your choice to keep the penguin company.